Okay, I'm going to talk today about the grid view in the TMX unstructured data terminal. When you log into the unstructured data terminal, you go to the dashboard page by default. And again, the dashboard page is a summary of what's happening right now in whatever universes you selected. And when I click on the grid view is designed to show you the most recent filings and any filings in the last year for your selected universe. And there's a lot of functionality on this page. And so we're going to start by looking at a universe of global. Global is everything, obviously, across the globe. And we also pulled out specifically US and Canada as markets that you users are going to be specifically interested in. When you select global, you're going to see all of the filings. I'm going to click on complete. That's the full universe. And you're going to see all the filings in the last year for the global universe of companies. So you could see there are a number of different countries represented, the aggregated sentiment of the last report. So Hansa AB had an annual report. It had a positive sentiment, but barely, and it had 984 words in that particular filing. Okay, when you click on an individual record here, you can see a number of different options. The options are determined by the type of filing. If I wanted to see an overview of this company, here's the overview of this particular company. And if I wanted to actually view this document, I could view this document along with the sentiment associated with that particular company. I'm going to go back to the grid view here. Again, I have global here, and I want the complete universe. I could select a universe that I'm interested in. I can also create my own universe. I have a watch list. Creating my own universe is really a watch list. So here are a number of different watch lists that I have in this particular universe. Scheduled filings are 10Ks, 10Qs, annual reports, semi-annual reports, and quarterly reports, as well as ESG reports. And we do that just so you can see the most commonly requested types of filings. You can specify any individual filing type that you're interested in seeing. Now, if I go to Canada, this is a universe, the complete universe of Canada, and I'm going to look at scheduled filings. If I want to look at 10Ks, so here I have 10Ks, and I'm pulling out, I'm sorting it by last reported date. So in this case, Trilogy Metals reported on February 14th. They had an aggregated sentiment of negative 3.68. That's a pretty negative sentiment. They're in the lowest quintile for their comparison group, which is all companies that have reported recent 10Ks. They're in the median middle group for sentiment change, so they dropped 3.47 points. The word count dropped by 3.2%, and obviously this is a Canadian company. Now, if I click on this, I see overview. This is what we looked at before. So overview shows me all of the filings, as well as a chart of risk factors, management discussions, and notes to the financial statements. Here you can see individual filings with the risk, notes, and MD&A. And then here are all of the filings, in this case for Trilogy Metals. And what's great is you can go back in time and see the full history, click on any of the individual filings. So here they filed a 10K. If I click on this 10K, here I'm actually viewing the document with our sentiment overlaid. If you want to hide sentiment and just look at the actual document, or you can only look at extreme only, so the lines that have extreme positive or negative sentiment. If I was interested in looking at the original file, I click on show original, and it's going to pull up the actual file, the 10K filing, and I can read it as it is with all of the tables and all of the associated data points. Now, if I want to compare, and comparison is only available for filings that are similar. So an annual report is typically completely different from one year to the next. So in that case, it really wouldn't make sense to have a comparison view. And so in this case, I want to see significant word count changes. And here we're looking at the 2/14/2023 10K, and we're comparing it to the 2/11/2022 10K. And you can see where they have individual word changes. The actual word changes are the highlighted colors, and you can see a lot of sections have dropped, and then you can see the different sections. Here, this is a total document. If I want to do MD&A, here's the MD&A different section, and it's going to load that up, and then it's going to load up risk and notes for me as well. Okay. Risk section, and then total. There we go. view document we discussed, and then an overview is a full listing of all the individual document types. Let's go back to the grid view. Okay, and so Canada, and we have all of the individual types. Now, if I wanted to turn on and off columns, I could do that as well. Not every column is available for all filing types. So you'll see what filing types are available. I'm sorry, what columns are available for that filing type as you go through the software. Actions, enable colors. So these are turning on the highlighting colors, and then only show active companies. And you can also export this page as a CSV. Screens. Now, screens are great because they allow you to save different settings. So for example, if I only want to pull out Canadian mining companies, what it's doing is it's showing metals and mining. So you can put your criteria in this box here, and then you can click Save as Screens. And if I wanted to update the screen, I could do that as well. So you set up the universe, I'm sorry, the region that you want to see, set up your criteria, and then hit Save Screen. And so now whenever I come and put my screen on Canadian mining, as illustrated right here, I'll only see the Canadian mining companies. Okay. Now, for example, if I wanted to look at Canadian annual reports, you're going to see that the columns types that I have are different. Okay, so if I go to columns, I only see a certain number of columns available. So in this case, they're not readily comparable across different years, so you're not going to see all of the individual choices. And the MD&A risk and notes are right now available for the Edgar filings because companies file in that type of format. All right, so if you go to Canadian 10Ks, you can specify total section, MD&A risk, and notes. Okay, now alerts. Now, if I wanted to set up an email alert, what I would do is I would go to email alerts, and I'd specify the file types that I want to see email alerts for. In this case, I'm specifying 10Ks, 10Qs, and ESG documents. Okay, when I get an alert, I'll get an email, and then it'll also show up here, all of the individual alerts. So I had a new watch list filing for STT. And it's going to pull up the filing for STT. Okay, let me go to grid. Here's my login. And then if I want to specify my watch list, here's my watch list. But I'm going to do a whole nother video on watch list alone.